Hello everyone, I'm Krasi and I will be informing you now about the two eclipses in June. We're having on 5th of June a lunar, partial lunar eclipse, and then on 21st of June we're having the solar eclipse. Now this year we do have 6 eclipses. How statistically it goes, we have usually from 2 to maximum 7 eclipses annually. When there are 6 eclipses in 1 year time, the year is considered difficult, but you know this already. I do not need to tell you things that you know. So we are having a difficult year and we all experience this. However, eclipses happen every year, so nothing very surprising or nothing very devastating. The eclipses are not auspicious events. Even in ancient Babylon, the eclipses were considered dramatic. And when the astronomers would watch the eclipse, they would always give remedies. The remedies would be incantations and rituals. Typically, this is what they would give. If they would see that something difficult will happen to the country of Akkad, which is ancient Babylon, the mains, yes, or if they would see that something will happen that would be endangering the king, then they will still propose rituals always. So this is to say that there is belief that with certain initiatives we are able to turn the evil into good. And this is important message, because right now in this very moment, whatever the stars are showing, still we are creating our own reality, and based on our own perceptions and awakening, we are like creating the history right now, and we're living in interesting, amazing times. So the more people are awakening, the more people are finding their true path, the better we'll live in the future, and we will actually find ourselves in a beautiful reality. But it depends only on us, and the eclipses are just celestial events which we should take as opportunity. These are portals, celestial portals with specific message. Now the ancients would believe that when there is an eclipse, it's like a portal which is opened, and then not really benefic but dark forces are entering. Now just very recently, maybe 2 weeks ago, I interviewed the amazing Mr. Astrology, and this is Santos Bonacci, amazing avatar astrologer, I would say. And he said something very interesting. He said that it's not like this anymore, that if this notion was valid for up until now or for the ancient times, that the portals during eclipse were opening doors, or portals would allow dark entities to enter. Now, because we are in the edge or entering the era of Aquarius, the situation is changed, and actually white, benevolent, angelic forces are entering. I would prefer to take his notion as a true knowledge. So I really would love to think that he's right. We will see this. I encourage you, please, if you, after these eclipses take place, see how they influence you. And if you notice that they are different, that this time the eclipses are really bringing positive change for you personally, make comments. This would be very, very interesting. So I will very briefly tell you just the simple astronomical data which you find everywhere, or just 2 words to tell you where the eclipse will be visible from. This is important because there are many ways, and in ancient Babylon they would have 2 approaches to a judge eclipse. The first one, of course, was the common one, and the second one was the scholarly one, when they would follow strict rules in analyzing the eclipses. I prefer to use the scholarly one, and I'm applying rules when analyzing the eclipse. But here is also one small minus when we use the scholarly one. And the minus is something interesting. We need to be there during the eclipse and watch it, which I don't do because because of the nature of the eclipses, they may be negative and the impacts may be negative. So it is important during the eclipse to see the color of the moon or the sun, exactly the color of the moon or the sun. They would give an exact meaning. Or it would be important to see the winds that are blowing. Many small details. Every detail matters during eclipse. And well, this is one part only of the way the ancients would, the scholarly approach actually. So I apply the scholarly approach to this very point when it is not needed to go and watch the eclipse. However, what I do is I do watch the live of NASA, and then you can still see important details like from which part the moon is being darkened, which part of the moon is darken first, and then we can still draw conclusions. But to watch it, I also do not advise you, because eclipses still, from what we know, eclipses are not auspicious events. Let's see if Santos Bonacci is right, and I so much hope that he's right. Then we will be openly, I would certainly be openly watching the eclipses, because then they would denote only good, and it will be great. So just 2 words to tell you what is happening now. 5th of June, the eclipse will be seen from, it is penumbral, lunar, which is a partial lunar eclipse, and it is much of Europe, much of Asia, Australia, Africa, southeast, south of South America, Pacific, Atlantic, Indian Ocean, Antarctica. You see pretty much of the world. And then the solar eclipse, annular, Southeast Europe, much of Asia, north of Australia, much of Africa, Pacific, Indian Ocean. I'm mentioning the 2 eclipses because I'll be talking about the 2 eclipses as they belong to each other. Because when the first one is happening, it's always followed by the next one. And the message they carry is interconnected. So they both carry a message which they're completing each other, so to say. So in 1 second, I will share my screen with you to show you the first. We're starting with the eclipse on the 5th of June, and what is the message that this eclipse is giving us. When I will also share with you some omens from Babylon, and will tell you what I think on mundane level, worldwide level, the eclipses mean, what they will bring us. And then after that, we look at the eclipse on the 21st of June. As for both of the eclipses, I will share my screen with you. One small moment to find the first chart. So this is the lunar eclipse. Now, this lunar eclipse is happening on the 13th lunar day. The 13th lunar day is the day of the full moon, 13th lunar day. What is known for the 13th lunar day? It's not auspicious. The ancients say, literally, I'm quoting text of Babylon, if on the 13th lunar day, the moon and the sun are seen together, this is set in terms of opposition, like a full moon, unreliable speech, there will be bad ways in the land, enemy will plunder in the land, the business will diminish. 13th lunar day eclipse, lunar eclipse on the 13th day, not good for the business. Which countries are ruled by the 13th lunar day? This is Akkad, ancient Akkad is responding to contemporary Europe. So this is not showing very harmonious influences on Europe. It is happening, however, when we divide the days in parts. We have watches, we have 3 day parts, first, middle, last, and then we have 3 night parts. And then it is very important when the eclipse is taking place. So we can say that if the eclipse is happening in the first night watch, then this is not very harmonious in general when it comes to health. And even the ancients say plague. If you remember, and you can see this is existing on my channel, when we didn't have idea about the illness, fake or not, because of the position of the eclipse, I predicted that there will be a plague. And unfortunately, the coming eclipse on the 5th is confirming the same. And the evening watch is covering the countries Elam. Elam is responding to China and Iran. Again, we will see a lot happening in China. It is not end of enforced illness. It is not end of these games that are being presented in China. Iran may also be influenced. How long the influence of this eclipse will take? 10 months and 10 days. No, sorry. 3 months. 3 months is this eclipse. The duration of the influences of this eclipse is 3 months. It is influencing Europe, and America is not that much of influenced. However, America also, because the eclipse is, both eclipses are happening in the month of Simanu, which is corresponding to the country of Amaru, which is an ancient state, and which is about the contemporary United States of America. So on first level, we're going to have another maybe fake disease happening in Akkad, which is Europe, which will influence secondary China, Iran, and the states in a way will also be involved. So the same story continues, but on another voice, so to say, because more and more will be heard again from China. There is a quiet moment now, but it won't be quiet because in approximately 3 months' time, we'll hear again from China, Iran, and because the month belongs to America, a lot will happen also in the States. I'm not saying anything new, but the thing that the evening watch of an eclipse means plague, it means it's not over with the fake diseases. Another thing is that it will be bad for the business, and there will be unreliable speech. So people really double check everything. The speech that will be presented to you will not be the reality. Let's see the second eclipse, and then we will talk about the two of them. This is eclipse number 2, the solar eclipse taking place on 21st of June, happening in the morning watch. The influences of this eclipse can work for very long, 10 months and 10 days. The morning watch is mainly influencing Elam, China. So America will be, of course, emphasized on because the month is Simanu, but also China will again be like the main character, Elam. And also, when eclipse is happening in the morning watch, this is the second eclipse, and 10 months will be the influences of the second eclipse, 10 months and 10 days. I will tell you that this means that the sick will heal, that if there is an illness, it will be gone. It will bring recovery. So if we have some kind of peak coming of illness coming from the first eclipse, which will take place after 3 months after the eclipse, look at the autumn time, and then a recovery will come due to the second eclipse, which is happening in the morning watch. And the emphasis again will be on China and Iran, America also, but China and Iran will be like main characters of the whole story. Recovery is the meaning of this. So, and the month of Simanu is, like I told you, the 28th lunar day is also a typical day for the solar eclipse. And I want to show you the interesting charts of the eclipse, because let's see first the first horoscope of the 5th, and then we'll be looking at the second horoscope, which is of the 21st, and what their meaning is. Now look what is happening. This is the chart. I'll be pointing, so don't worry if this is not clear enough for you. So this is the chart of the eclipse. You have in here the full moon lunar eclipse. Venus is disappearing in the eclipse in the point of Aldebaran, star of money. There will be change of the money system, which will be triggered with this eclipse. Complete change of the money system. Very, very important. Another thing which I have to tell you, when Venus disappears in an eclipse, the ancients say that the lands will be fruitful. There will be a lot of, but there will be water, there will be floods, but the lands on the other hand will be fruitful. We have here Mars who makes a square, we have a huge T square, and this will work heavily on people's emotions, heavily. I think that during the eclipse, Mars is in Aquarius, and this will trigger even more and more riots and protests. On the other hand, Mercury is visible in Gemini with Rahu, and I believe this will be like a new wave of free speech. Like people will break through, and they will find a way, the speech to go out, the truth to go out. But Venus becomes invisible, and when she becomes again visible, there will be amazing change in the way the money system works. If you look in the but this is disharmonious T square here. So there will be riots, there will be a lot happening. Fiery riots, I believe. Let me show you now the other chart of the eclipse on the 21st, which is actually, excuse me, I think I'm showing the same one, which is the solar eclipse, and is also very, very interesting. Okay, now this is the solar eclipse chart. Look what is happening here. Venus in this particular chart, Mercury here is eclipsed in his own sign in Gemini. He is eclipsed, and when Mercury is eclipsed, of course, there will be attempts to suppress speech, and there will be fake speech going out. And also, let me tell you that when an eclipse is happening in a tropical point, which is what the first eclipse is happening here in Taurus Scorpio, the eclipse is very important and will influence a lot the whole world. So these eclipses are opening doors for new events to come, and the way I describe them. And also, in the very moment of the eclipse, Mars just entered the sign of Pisces. So they will try here. There will be water floodings maybe. And Mars in Pisces is what? Poison. Maybe they will try to impose and to come out with attempts about vaccines and all this stuff. But remember, eclipse, you do not experience the influences of the eclipse tomorrow. The first eclipse will be felt like 3 months approximately after it happens, and the next one 10. So they are like step after step fulfilling its so to say, nature. And 3 months after the first eclipse, the events will start unfolding, and then 7 months after, more and more. And this is how the eclipses work. On the other hand, look, Venus on this particular moment is visible here. So this may be interesting. This will be totally already first sign of introduction of another financial and money system. It will be an interesting change related to money. Another thing is, for some people, this will be very beneficial. Another thing is, remember the first eclipse was saying, and the countries I listed, that the financial system, the businesses will diminish, and they will diminish, and then something will come up after the second eclipse. So, like I told you, eclipses happen every year. The omens described related to eclipses are not good. The second eclipse has invisible Mercury participating in the eclipse. An invisible Mercury could be change of a prince, take prince symbolically, ruling figures, may fall and be changed by others. How this eclipse work on the horoscope of America, I made separate video on this when I was looking at the horoscopes of the, if you remember, I was talking about the omen of the assassinated presidents of the states. And then I was describing how the eclipse is influencing the states. I may make another video about this. But I advise you not to watch the eclipses, not to eat during eclipse. This is something which the ancients advise. Not to expose your food to the energies of the moon or the sun during eclipse. And also remain positive, spiritual. Don't watch the eclipses. At least I, for sure, am not watching the eclipses. Remain very spiritual. Do your spiritual practices and techniques. And let's hope that these eclipses will be different, that they will open doors for divinities of benevolent angels. This is what Santos Bonacci said, and I have all the reasons to believe him. So stay blessed. Your comments are welcome. You're very welcome to share with us how these eclipses influenced you. Actually, they are only happening in a week time. So I will be looking forward to your comments, and bye-bye.